associate with your goals, make a decision, take that first step, and then get around the right people. When I was losing everything in 2008-9, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, and it was a high-level mastermind. It's about 100 grand back then. It's more than that now. And I was around people that were killing it in that crash. They were thriving. I don't know if it was luck or if it was planned, but they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million schmillion. That's who you need to be around when the what hits the fan, right? And so, most people default to people they go to school with or went to school with or work with as peers. No, you want to be around people that want more out of life, people that think what you think is hard is easy.
If you're a real estate investor and are wondering how to raise and leverage private money to make more profit on every deal, then you're in the right place. On Raising Private Money, we'll speak with new and seasoned investors to dissect their deals and extract the best tips and strategies to help you get the money, because the money comes first. Now here's your host, Jay Conner.
What do you do when you lose $50 million? Do you fold, or do you rebuild stronger than ever before? And what separates the investors who disappear from the ones who come back and dominate? Welcome to Raising Private Money. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority. And if you're a real estate investor looking to fund more deals without begging for money, you are in the right place. Now, today, I'm sitting down with Rod Khleif. This guy has owned over 2,000 properties. Let me say that again, over 2,000. But what makes this conversation different? It's not just the success, it's the crash. Rod lost $50 million in 2008. Most people never recover from that. Rod calls it a seminar. And today, he's going to break down the mindset, the psychology, and the strategies that took him from losing everything to building it all back again and even better. We're talking about real estate, peak performance, and how to think at a level where money follows you instead of you chasing money. And by the way, Rod's also impacted over 130,000 children through his foundation. So yeah, this is going to be a powerful conversation. Put on your seatbelt, get buckled in, and you're going to hear stuff here that you've never heard before. So before we jump in with Rod, you're going to meet him in just a moment, right after this. Rod, welcome to Raising Private Money.
Well, I'm really pleased to be here, Jay. You've got a hell of a dynamic personality. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, thank you so much. Here's where I want to start, Rod. I want to start with the breaking point, which really, from what I understand about your story, was really a turning point, not only a breaking point. When you lose $50 million in a single collapse, what actually breaks first? Your finances or your identity?
Well, that's an awesome question, actually, Jay, because you should never allow your vehicle, i.e. real estate or buying businesses or stocks or whatever, or crypto, never allow your vehicle to be your identity. Because if it's your identity, then you're a failure. If it's your vehicle, the vehicle may have failed. So I'm very careful about that. I teach an identity exercise at my boot camps because, people that make it their identity jump off buildings when the shit hits the fan, or that crypto guy killed himself in his Lamborghini about a year ago. That's when it's your identity. So never let it be your identity. But, no, it was the vehicle, and I call them seminars when they fail. Yeah, it was a $50 million. It was an expensive freaking seminar. Don't get me wrong, but it's only a failure if you don't get the lesson or you don't get back up. And I've built 30 businesses so far in my career. I was shocked when I counted them. Several worth tens of millions of dollars. 2 right now are. However, most were spectacular, flaming seminars. Okay, because we fail our way to success. So if you're listening and you haven't taken action on something yet, don't fear failure. Fear regret. Fear being in the same freaking place you are right now a year or two from now, unless you love where you are right now. That's what you should fear. Jay, there was this nurse in Australia, a hospice nurse, that took care of patients when they were about to die. And she asked him a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? And she wrote a book about it. It's a bestseller, something like The 5 Regrets of Dying. And you know what the number one regret was? Not living the life I could have lived, living someone else's life, not doing what I know I'm capable of. Fear that.
Awesome advice, Rod. As you were sharing your story there, it reminded me of two things. First of all, John Maxwell, we were so blessed to meet him last year, have a chat with him. And, one thing, of course, one of the books, he's written over 80 books. One of his books is Failing Forward. Mm-hmm. And from his talk, there was a lady in the audience that when it came to Q&A, a lady in the audience says, what is it about, what's your characteristic or your personal characteristic, Mr. Maxwell, that lends itself mostly to your success? And his answer was very interesting. He says, I just fail more than anybody else. And she says, well, what do you mean by that? He said, only about 30%, 3 out of 10 ventures that I try really are successful. The other, 70% don't make it. He says, so somebody might try 10 things and succeed at 3. He says, I'm going to try 100 things. I got 30 wins instead of 3 wins. And so your story reminded me of John.
I met Sarah Blakely, the billionaire owner of Spanx. Guys, that's the women's undergarments that hold everything together under there. And she started with $5,000. And I met her at a mastermind I went to. And she told me that her dad used to ask her and her brother almost on a weekly basis, what have you failed at this week? And I thought, what an awesome freaking question to ask your kids so they don't fear failure, right?
Exactly. Well, and going along with that, I heard someone say, I wish I could remember who to give credit to. It's not original with me. And the quote is, success is a horrible teacher.
Interesting. Yeah, we fail our way to success, Jay, and an entrepreneur is kind of like a shark. You only die if you stop swimming. And that's the bottom line. And, don't fear failure. Like I said, fear regret. There's so many people watching that know they need to do something with their lives. They need to spend time with their kids and their families, and time's going by. That clock is ticking, and we live in the greatest time on freaking earth right now, Jay, to take advantage of what's happening. There's 10,000 people a day turning 65 in this country. They have businesses they want to sell. There's 10,000 people a day turning 80 in this country. I'm in senior housing. I'm closing on 6 assisted living facilities Friday. And there's incredible opportunity in multifamily. It's a meltdown in multifamily. I mean, there's a ton of deals in distress, deals being sold for less than you can build them for. So there's incredible opportunity, but there's a lot of fear because there's blood running in the streets. I think I'm reminded of Warren Buffett's famous quote, be fearful when others are greedy. A lot of greed in 21, 22, 20, but the flip side of that is be greedy when others are fearful. And right now there's a lot of fear. So if there's ever a time to get going, smarter people than me say it could be the greatest transfer of wealth we see in our lifetimes, but you got to decide what your vehicle is going to be. If it's going to be real estate, get your butt to one of my boot camps. If it's stocks, go learn that. If it's buying businesses, go learn that, but don't wait. Don't sit on the sidelines is my advice.
Let's go back to that crash in 2008, because, so much of your success, other people's success, it's 99% mindset. Yes, you got to know the strategies. Absolutely. You got to know the strategies. You got to have the skill set. But what it really comes down to, I'm sure you'll agree, is the mindset. What was the first decision you made after the crash that started your comeback?
Let me give you the sequence, because the sequence that I used is the same thing you would use to get started, okay? The first thing is you got to do your goals. If you come to one of my virtual boot camps, I do one about every 30 days. First thing we do is goal setting on steroids, because how do you get anything if you don't know what it is? So the first thing I did was reassociate with, after a couple of months hiding under a rock, feeling sorry for myself, I came out from under the rock and reassociated with my goals, because you got to create what Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich says is a burning desire. You got to want it, because that's how you push through fear. That's how you push through limiting beliefs. That's how you actually or maybe that's how you get uncomfortable. A lot of people are in comfort, and that comfort zone's a nice warm place, and nothing freaking grows there, right? So I did my goals. Then you got to make a decision. And so again, it's the same sequence. So back then I decided, okay, enough pity party. Let's get off your butt and make things happen again. And so I just decided. Now the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. An example of a good decision would be if you're going to attack the island, you burn your ships because you're taking their ships home. Okay, that's a decision. It's not dipping your toe in the water. It's not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's freaking done. So that's what I did. I decided. And then the next thing is you got to take the first step. Dr. Martin Luther King says, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. And you may not see the whole journey. And a lot of people that get into, what we do, as you know, Jay, are analytical. and I love you. You know who you are. And you also know how you have to check off every freaking box before you make a move. Well, you can't do that. You've got to recognize, I guess the best analogy would be you can drive all the way across the United States at night with your headlights only seeing 50 feet in front of you, and you know you can make it. You know other people have done it before you. You may have some obstacles, but it's you can do it. And it's the same way in my business in commercial real estate. And it's the same way with really any business. So associate with your goals, make a decision, take that first step, and then get around the right people. When I was losing everything in 2008-9, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership, and it was a high-level mastermind. It's about $100,000 back then. It's more than that now. And I was around people that were killing it in that crash. They were thriving. I don't know if it was luck or if it was planned, but they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million schmillion. That's who you need to be around when the what hits the fan, right? And so, most people default to people they go to school with or went to school with or work with as peers. No, you want to be around people that want more out of life, people that think what you think is hard is easy. Like I've got a coaching program, and we just discovered literally two and a half weeks ago, my students now own 305,000 units that we know of. And we know it's more than that. And it's because of the group. It's not because of Rod being great. It's because, it's that rising tide that lifts all ships. So get around people that want more out of life. And I could keep going here, Jay, but there's more to this. But I guess I'll say one more thing. Play to your strengths. Your strengths are your greatest assets. Don't try to build your weaknesses. There's lots of different hats you can wear in what we do, multifamily, senior housing. I mean, I've got students that have done tons of senior housing. I'm doing it as well. I just bragged about the student success in multifamily, mobile home parks, self-storage, industrial flex space, you name it, all of it. And but you want to play to your strengths because there's a lot of different hats you can wear. It's a team sport. You could be the person that finds the deals. You could be the one, if you're analytical, that underwrites them. If you've got construction experience or management experience or project management experience, you can do the asset management. There's just a lot of different hats you can wear, but you want to play to your strengths. Why? Because when you're playing to your strengths, you love what you do. And when you love what you do, you never work another day in your life, right? And if you encounter setbacks, you're able to push through them because you're doing what you love. You're more innovative, you're more creative. And the biggest thing is you're more passionate. And if you're raising money, which is what this show's about, you better be passionate because passion's required to influence people.
Absolutely, Rod.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. And one thing that you just said is so powerful. In fact, everything you just said is powerful, but one particularly is resonating with me. And that is being very, very intentional, and be very intentional about who you're going to be around, and just as intentional about who you're not going to be around. Absolutely. And the reason that comes to mind is my quickest, my most efficient growth that I've had has been because of the mastermind groups I have been in and the mastermind groups that I'm in now. And quite frankly, I'm a giver. I want to give, I want to serve, I want to provide value. But my selfish desire is to be in a room and I'm the dumbest kid in there.
That's the room you want to be in. That's the room you want to be in. You want to be around people that think what you think is hard is easy. That's who you want to be with. And I formed a mastermind for multifamily. It was the largest at the time, probably about 40, 50 billion in assets in there. And I formed it selfishly because I wanted to be in the room with people that thought what I thought was hard was easy. And it was like herding cats. So I gave it up a few years ago, but yeah, I'm in multiple masterminds almost all the time. I've got multiple coaches. I believe in that. In fact, I show a picture at my boot camps where I've got literally hundreds of lanyards around my neck and I have my arms out with lanyards hanging on both arms from all the boot camps and masterminds and workshops that I've gone to. That's my college education. I didn't go to college. That's my college education.
Well, I went to college, I went to university, and I'll tell you, I have learned a whole lot more in my mastermind groups than I did in practical application at the university, for sure.
There you go.
We've been talking about failure. I don't want to leave the topic quite yet. In your opinion, and your experience and observations, what are the real reasons people fail in real estate? Not surface answers, but the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to admit.
Oh God, there's a lot of reasons. um, they put you put a team together that's the wrong team. You don't do your due diligence before you join a team or form a team. Now, in my link tree, it's rodslinks.com. I've got a free book section. There's a book in there about the questions you should ask before you get into partnership. Okay. And because a partnership, like a marriage, is easy to get into and hard to get out of. Okay. Ask me how I know. And by the way, I say, ask me how I know so often because I made every mistake in the book. That one of my students gave me a shirt that says hashtag ask me how I know. It's hilarious. We give them away at my live events, but anyway, so that's one piece for sure. And then, there's so many reasons that deals fail. You don't raise enough money. You don't, I'm blessed to tell you, I think we've only lost one deal in my Warrior program, my coaching program, because I teach everybody to be so conservative. 6 months of operating reserves. Don't be aggressive in your rent assumptions and be just as aggressive in your expense acceleration, and be conservative in your exit cap rate and all these other things that we teach. And to be conservative, the bottom line. And so that's another piece. But the biggest piece is the team. I'm going to tell you, it's who you align with, because you can get a great deal and you've got the wrong team, it'll fail. You can have a lackluster deal with the right team and you'll be okay. And so I think the biggest reason people fail is it's the wrong people on the team, and you didn't do your due diligence. You've got people that really aren't enrolled, that don't, aren't as invested in their investors' money as you are. And so, I think that's the biggest one, Jay, is really who you align with to do these deals.
When someone is feeling that they have that feeling of a lack of confidence, and it paralyzes them, what advice would you give them?
Well, that's very common. And they have, people have fear, and fear paralyzes. I mean, we achievers, we call it stress. But, the bottom line is, when that happens, I would tell you to reassociate with your goals. At my link tree, that Rod's links at the bottom, is my goal setting workshop. It's about an hour. There's a guide you can download. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Here's the sad reality, Jay. People spend more time planning a freaking birthday party or a Christmas party than they do designing their lives. Doing your goals is designing your life. You go to Rod's links, but it's my goal setting workshop. It's free. Guide you can download. Have your spouse do it. Have your kids, if they're over 10 years old, do it. Okay. And design your life, because I forgot what the question was, but that was the answer.
No. Hey man, I know the feeling.
I'm 66 and I forget what I had for breakfast. It's ridiculous.
What is a pattern? And I mean, you have observed a lot of people in real estate investing, those that are successful, those that aren't. What is one of the main patterns that you see winners have versus losers?
Massive freaking action. Okay. My most successful students aren't the smartest. It's not the college degrees. They don't live in the biggest cities. They don't come with the most money. I've had NFL players, NBA players. I've had famous actors. The ones that kick ass are the ones that just take massive action. They fail forward. Like you said, are they going to have mistakes? Sure. But that's the secret. And a lot of people have a story for why they don't take action, limiting beliefs. Let's talk about limiting beliefs for a minute, because I got a funny prop here. When I immigrated this country, I got thrown into school. I didn't speak English. I was 6 years old and came from Holland, wooden shoes and windmills. And my mom sent me to school. So I got beat up occasionally. I didn't speak English. My mom sent me to school in these wooden shoes right here. These are the actual freaking wooden shoes. And these leather shorts the Germans wear for Oktoberfest. That was like crack cocaine for the freaking bullies. So I got my ass kicked again. And, I came up with this belief system that I wasn't good enough. And a lot of people have these limiting beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm not courageous enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not analytical enough. That was another one of mine. I'm too old. I'm too young, whatever. There's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99% of them are BS. But you see, we believe they're real. And so if you're listening and you're consciously aware of one of these, sometimes you're not consciously aware, but if you're consciously aware, drag it out into the daylight. Look at it with your adult rational mind. Recognize that it's BS. And I promise if you do that enough, it will dissipate. I used to be afraid to raise my hand in front of 10 kids in a classroom. And now I literally speak in front of thousands and thousands of people a year, typically in flip-flops and shorts. So, you can mitigate this, a negative belief system.
I want to come back for a moment to what you were saying is take massive action. And I just got to insert here because I never heard anybody else say this until probably, I don't know, 10 years ago. I have a dear friend. His name is Tom Kroll, Krol. He founded the largest wholesaling coaching company. Oh, probably 12
I know
years
that. I know
ago.
that name. I know that name. Mhm.
An amazing person, Rod. I need to, if you and Tom don't know each other, I got to get you two connected. Anyway,
Yeah.
his phrase that he says, I love, he says,
Okay.
take massive imperfect action.
There you go.
Massive imperfect action.
I have Tom in my phone, so we know each other. it's been a long time. Yeah.
Oh, my,
real estate,
I gotta
influencer mastermind. Yeah.
I got to get you two reconnected. So the pattern we're talking about that you just talked about is massive action. I'm so glad we're spending a good amount of time here talking about the psychology.
It's 80 to 90% of this, buddy. You know, if you're listening, you think it's the mechanical stuff, the real estate. You know, I host the largest commercial real estate podcast really in the world at this point, but it's 80 to 90% psychology and mindset. That's it. It's only 10 to 20% the mechanical stuff. So, you know, you got to get your mindset right. Go do my goal setting or do somebody else's goal setting, but get your mindset right, because that's how you take that imperfect action and you change your trajectory of your life for you and your kids and their kids and their kids' legacy. So, yeah.
Why do you think most real estate investors get that backwards?
Because they're analytical and they get caught up in an analysis paralysis, you know, and I love you because you're some of my most successful students, because my business is primarily empirical. You get the numbers right. You ask all the right questions. Pretty hard to make a big mistake, but you know who you are. And again, I love you, but you know how you have to check off every single box. You can't do that here. You just got to take that imperfect action.
Yeah. I had another question that I wanted to ask you, and you've sort of began answering it. I don't know if another answer comes to mind. So, you know, you talk a lot about systems. You've already talked about teams. And what I wanted to ask you is, what's the biggest mistake investors make when trying to scale their business? And you've talked about action. You've talked about teams.
No, I can answer that question. The biggest mistake is trying to go too fast. You know, every business is nothing but systems and people. You got to get the systems down, otherwise you'll implode. Okay, there are a lot of details in our business. If you miss things in your due diligence, if you miss a deadline and your money goes hard and you don't raise all the money, or you don't, you know, whatever it is, you know, our business is a lot of check boxes, and you know, I've got due diligence checklists and closing checklists and all these things that you have to implement to be successful. And I think that's probably the biggest failing is people move too fast. They don't dot the I's and cross the T's, and they don't have some sort of an accountability framework in their business to make sure that they don't miss anything. And so I happen to be pretty much an expert in systems. I have to say that's how I bought 2,000 houses that I rented out long-term over, you know, a long period of time. And I've bought thousands of apartments, and it's really all about systems, Jay, and good people. Yeah. Yeah.
If you had to start all over again today, like you did in 2008, and you had to rebuild from zero today with your current knowledge, going through what you've already been through, build it all back and even better than before, what would your first 90 days look like starting today?
Well, I gave you a lot of the pieces. Okay. You know, reassociate with my goals, make a decision. Enough is enough. Take that first step, get around the right people, pay attention to my focus as well. Focus is very important. But the key is get in the environment, get in the rooms of people that you know more than you do, because a rising tide lifts all ships. Even if you're just in the room, it doesn't even matter if you're connected with these people. You will become more just by being in the room. And then just massive freaking action. That's it. You know, just be okay with making mistakes. You know, obviously you minimize your mistakes, but massive action is the answer. And that's what I've seen so many times with my students.
Yeah, you just said a very, very powerful word, and that powerful word is the word focus. That leads me to this question. So if someone is just getting started in real estate today, And this may depend on, or it may not depend. I'm be interested in your answer on the type of asset class. Maybe not. What should they focus on first, and what should they ignore completely?
I want to talk about focus more generally, if you give me a moment on that, because what we focus on gets larger, both positive or negative. I'll have people call me and say, how do I get out of student loan debt? I'm like, wrong question. How do you make so much money that debt's irrelevant is what you should be asking yourself. They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. I mean, you get the answer. Focus. My podcast's been downloaded about 30 million times, so it doesn't sound like a lot in this social media world, but in my little niche, it's pretty darn good. And I listen to two podcasts, Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss. I both sides of the aisle. I'm definitely on the Joe Rogan side, but on the Tim Ferriss side, he interviews the best of the best in the world, the best athletes, Michael Phelps, NFL, NBA players, actors like Hugh Jackman, Ed Norton, Arnold, billionaires like Ray Dalio, heads of the biggest companies like Zuckerberg, and he deconstructs their success. It's a fascinating conversation. And I started to hear a pattern, Jay. They almost all meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? And so, what should somebody focus on first? Their education. Get your butt to one of my boot camps. I charge $17. If you want to learn multifamily, no excuses. $17. I don't sell anything. There are 2 days of training. So there's no excuses if that's what you want to learn. But focus on your education. Get around the right people that are doing this, not the naysayers. Like you said, be careful who you allow to influence you. And there are people around you that don't want you to succeed, that love you because they're afraid of feeling less than if you succeed, or they'll hold you back because they're afraid of getting left behind. So be careful who you allow to influence you. Get in the right rooms, get educated, and go kick ass.
Hey, Rod, let me tell you, I'm so glad you gave that advice of get your education, because I tell you what, if you think education is expensive, try failed experiences and those seminars, and I wish someone had given me that advice. Carol Joy, my wife, and I, we started investing in single family houses all the way back in 2003. And I didn't go to my first seminar or conference until 2009. I was trying to rely on my experience from being in the mobile home business or manufactured homes up until 2003. Not the way to go. Now, yes, your experience in the past is going to help you a lot. But if you're interested in a new niche of something that you've never done before, for goodness sakes, as Rod and I have been saying, get your education, get your coaching, get around the people like Rod that's already gone through the mind field and keep you from getting blown up.
That's it. If I save you from making a mistake, there's a lot of zeros in what we do. It's sound advice. It's you're basically paying for speed. You can do it yourself 5-7 years, but with me, you can do it in 1 or 2 years. So, or with Jay here or whatever, I always have 2 or 3 coaches going. I got 2 relationship coaches going right now because I'm going through a breakup. So, I'm working on me. I'm always working on me. And I hope you do the same if you're listening.
Excellent, Rod. Rod, I know my listeners are wanting to connect with you, continue the conversation, learn more from you. What's the best way for them to get started to learn more about how they can learn from you?
Yeah, Rod's Links is the best place. Go to rodslinks.com, and my podcast site is there. My podcast, you'll really enjoy that. I've got a bunch of free books there. My goal setting workshops there. My boot camp site is there. Like I say, it's $17, so there's no excuses for 2 days of training. It's on a weekend, but that's the best place. All my social media links are there as well. I answer every question. So Rod's Links is the place. And I hope
that's
I see you.
That's www.rods, RODS, links, links.com. And of course, all this is going to be in the show notes as well. Rod, wow. I could just keep right on talking to you.
We could have a lot of fun.
Any parting comments or advice you'd like to leave the listeners with?
Just don't let it be entertainment. Go make something happen. By the way, if you're driving, you can text the word links to 72345, links to 72345, and we'll send you that link. But yeah, just go do it. Don't wait. Nike's, just do it.
Rod, thank you so much, man.
Pleasure to meet you, brother.
You got it. If you're listening to this right now, here's the reality. Most people will hear this conversation with Rod and myself, nod their head, feel inspired, and then do absolutely nothing with it. Probably 95% at least of those listening. But let me ask you a question. Are you in the 5% that can take massive imperfect action? And a small group, just a small group, will take what they heard today and actually apply it. That's the difference in real estate, and that's the difference in life. So let me ask you directly, if this episode gave you just even one idea, one mindset shift, one strategy that could change you personally and your business, don't keep it to yourself. Send it to another person, another real estate investor who is important to you in your life that needs to hear this. Post it, share it, text it to someone who is stuck trying to figure out how to fund their deals, how to find the deals, how to do real estate. Because here's the truth. There are people in your world right now who are just one conversation away from breaking through, just like Rod did after losing $50 million. And if you're serious about raising private money and scaling your real estate business without chasing deals or begging or for funding like that, then make sure you are subscribed to this podcast, Raising Private Money, because every episode is designed to give you one thing: clarity on how money actually moves, the right mindset, and how you can put it to work in your business. I'm Jay Conner, the Private Money Authority, and I'll see you right here on the next episode of Raising Private Money.
Are you feeling inspired by the knowledge you gained in this episode? Then head over to jconner.com/moneyguide. That's jconner.com/moneyguide and download your free guide that shares 7 reasons why private money will skyrocket your real estate investing business right now. Again, that's jconner.com/moneyguide to get your free guide. We'll see you next time on Raising Private Money with Jay Conner.